This is the Mighty Oba once again here on clbTV and Mix 1080 AM WUFO. We are examining the Memorandum of Understanding of the new Buffalo Bills lease negotiated with the County of Erie and New York State. This is not a good lease for the citizens of New York. Once again, we see that major amounts of money are being contributed to millionaires rather than contributing this money where it benefits the citizen and the taxpayer. We are undercutting and subsidizing a Forbes-listed corporation here in Western New York. The Buffalo Bills are listed in Forbes magazine. Why are we underwriting so much money to an NFL franchise? Yes, there are costs involved with having an NFL team. But once again, our county executive and his government have refused to look at the new ideas that are necessary in changing the course of how you have an NFL team. Yes, there are costs, but you have to have a way of recouping your investment. With this lease, none of the investment is recouped. They can say what they want to. They can say payroll tax and everything else, but there's no way that they have a way of putting their hands on any tangible money benefited by the Buffalo Bills with this current agreement and as things have been in the past. There is a new way of doing it, as proposed by the Greater Buffalo Sports Entertainment Complex. By building a new venue that is multi-use and multi-purpose that can be used year-round, you can offset the costs that cost you to have an NFL team. This current lease gives you 10 years of the same old bad ideas and Band-Aid principles which don't benefit the citizen of Western New York or the taxpayer. And this is because you have government in place that refuses to listen. All they do is go along to get along and vote with anything that's put before them. This has to change. The Greater Buffalo Sports Entertainment Complex has put forth an idea which would bring back revenue to the taxpayer who's invested in having an NFL team. This lease, the total investment, is $271.5 million, in which they say you're going to get back in tax revenue, payroll tax, and other tangible incomes that cannot be counted or there's no way that you can put your hands on these incomes from the Buffalo Bills. So to count them as incomes is relatively not a very good thing or very truthful. This new system will bring back a way of investing the money and then being able to recoup your dollars with tangible revenues year-round. The Ralph Wilson Stadium in Orchard Park is only used 7 to 9 times a year. There's no way for you to recoup your investment of $135 million into upgrades that will never come back to you in any tangible way. No matter what they're telling you, this is a bad lease. 10 years is not a lease for an NFL team. Most NFL franchises, the average lease is 28 years long. Why the Buffalo Bills in Erie County negotiated a lease for 10 years is quite obvious. What is quite obvious is they're setting up this team to be sold to the next owner. And chances are that next owner is not going to want to stay in Western New York unless there are certain provisions that have to be met. One is a new stadium. Then there has to be a way that that new stadium is incorporated with that NFL team in which the revenue that that NFL team produces comes back to the team and then makes money for the citizen and taxpayer that has made the investment in having an NFL franchise. This is the only way you can have an NFL team in the modern era. And unfortunately, we have government in place, beginning with our county executive that has refused to listen, that has basically put an extension on old Band-Aid ideas that don't work. This is not a good lease. It is not a very good lease at all for any Western New Yorkers. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he's going to come up with the money without raising taxes. I think that most Western New Yorkers anticipate a raise in taxes. And it is because your county executive negotiated a lease which is toxic to the taxpayer. Toxic to the taxpayer. And if he would have reviewed some of the information that was provided to him by myself, and the Greater Buffalo Sports Entertainment Complex, he would have had an opportunity to negotiate a better lease for a new venue and only do average maintenance at that stadium until the new venue was completed. That's what should have been done, rather than invest $135 million into a 40-year-old shell of a stadium. This is the mighty Oba, and hopefully things get better here in Western New York. We'll continue to fight for them. But I think right now we're looking at a 10-year lease which continues the bad policies that we have seen over the last 50 years here in regard to how you have an NFL team. And the venue that we have is not a money-producing venue for its citizens. It's only a money-producing venue for Ralph Wilson and the Buffalo Bills. That's all for us here on clbTV. We'll see you next week live from the Super Bowl in New Orleans.